So on occasion we do get a phone call that asks us what happens if our slide outs will not go in or out, and that comes into our call center. People are worried about it. It's not something that happens very often, that our slide outs are not working, but just so you have an understanding of what the possibilities are. So there's a couple components that go into this. It's obviously an electric driven motor. It's just a DC with reverse polarity, so any 12-volt device will power this motor. We'll show you a couple things about that as well. But generally speaking, it is from our Firefly system. It just sends a command, and that sends power and ground out to the motor. Now let's just, for basic troubleshooting, say that we've already tried all of that. We've hit that button, and the slide out's not moving in or out. We're going to check a couple things with a multimeter, have somebody push the button, come down here and check the wires at the motor. It's just 2 wires at the motor. We would be checking those to see if we have power and ground. So again, it's reverse polarity. We check that to see if we've got power and ground. Let's say we do not have power and ground. Then we know that we have a wiring issue, or we have something in the network that's not getting that signal to give us the power. Those things we can get by, and we can find out different ways to do that. Now, we can come directly to this motor, unplug it from the wiring harness that it's in, and it's just in Wago connector, so we have bare wire. When we're done, it just simply comes out. We open the clip, it comes out. You can use a cordless screw gun battery and operate the slide out by applying that power and ground directly to the motor. Well, let's go in the wrong direction when we do that. It's simple. Just turn that battery around and reverse the polarity to that motor. But let's take it one more step further. What happens if that motor is actually defective? If it's froze up, if there's a sheared gear in there, if the brake has stopped working and the room kind of works its way out on its own. Those are things where we're going to have to get in and replace the room. Now, what if that slide out is stuck out and that motor goes out, the slide room is actually out, and the motor stops working? There's a simple way to override and to get these rooms in so that you're not stranded somewhere. We're going to take a look at the motor. I'm going to show you a couple pins that we pull out. Once we pull those shear pins out, this room is actually free floating because nothing is holding it to the brake of that motor. We can physically push this room all the way in or push it all the way out, whatever the case is. Now, people will look at us and say, there's no way. That super slide that goes up the hill, yes, there is a way. It's going to take multiple people to do that. But once you get it going up the hill and it's up the hill, we can physically push that in by hand. Now, the problem is when we get it pushed in or we get it pulled out, you've got to keep it there. Most of the time, this is going to be when the room is needing to go in. We physically get it in, but you're going to have to drive somewhere to get that repaired. And we don't want this room coming out while you're going down the road. So I'm going to show you how to keep that from happening too. So let's take a look down here at the motor. I'm going to show you those pins, and I'm going to show you how we keep this in place once we've got that room put in. So down at the slide out motor, just the motor mounted here on the bracket, and the bracket's mounted to the floor, you're going to see that there are 2 shear pins, one on the left here and one on the right. Those shear pins are what's connecting that motor to the actual cross shaft, to the actual drive shaft of our slide out system. So simply put like this, if we pull those cotter pins out, push the shear pin out on both sides, that disengages the motor from the actual drive shaft of the slide out system. That's what makes it free floating at that moment in time. Once we get the room all the way in, or we have to get it all the way out, whichever the case is, we need that room to stay in place. Now, all the way out is not going to be a big deal. It's not going anywhere because you're not going to drive with your rooms out. The issue is when you have to run the room in an emergency, and we've got to keep it in until we get to a dealership, till we get to a repair facility to have that done. The way we're going to do that, and the easiest way to recommend, because these will not line up once you get that in, is if you take a pair of vice grips, and on either side of this motor, we would just take a pair of vice grips and clamp it here to the drive shaft, and clamp it in a way. You've got some space here. It'll clamp just like this, and it'll get jammed right up against that floor. So if you've got a pair of vice grips here, it's holding that tight, it's up against the floor, that cross shaft is not going to move while you're making your way to the dealership or the repair facility.